today and tomorrow. I think the case has been very well made, sir and madam, for why it is so important to have this discussion on values. And in the spirit of being action-oriented, as this is being proposed, and you've already recommended a number of actions, I'd like to go directly to that this morning. And although the list of values can be very long, let me commend 5 to you. And I'd like to start with fairness. And as my colleague from Canada, Mark Carney, said recently, a system that privatizes the gains and socializes the losses is unfair. And we've seen quite a lot of that, unfortunately. A company where the CEO earns 100 to 400 times the income of an average employee is unfair. And of course, looking at the flip side of this, when we're talking of fairness, we mean that shared profits, shared values, of course with shareholders, with owners, because sometimes a company is not public, but also with communities, with staff, and with the other stakeholders that are very important. And one could say quite a lot more about fairness, but in the spirit of time, let me move to my second value that I would like to commend to you. And that one is stewardship. Especially in relation to the environment and in relation to being what I'm calling an employer of choice. And on, everything that we touch today comes to a great extent from private industries, from the private sector, from the knowledge that we acquire to this glass, this bottle. It's all there, and a lot of it is extracted from the ground as well, with a lot of potential harm. So I think that in looking at stewardship on the environment, the do no harm, the precautionary principle are vital. And here, it's really protecting the water supply. It's reducing emissions, reducing energy use, investing in new technology that can make a difference, and welcoming independent assessment of the footprints so that you know you're doing better, and so does the rest of the world, and they can trust the findings. And choosing the high ground. I always say to my friends in the business sector, please don't limit yourself to limiting to the basic standards, because basic standards are very often not good enough and not making a real difference. Take the high ground. It will be good for your company, good for your business, and good for your soul as well. And when it comes to the environment especially, and to be an employer of choice. And the issue is sometimes what I'm calling a mother company, some of you might call it a father company, but that's all right too, which has a number of subsidiaries, do not really take enough care to find out what the subsidiaries are doing when it comes to being an employer of choice. And you might be surprised, if you did, that you might find child labor. In any of the countries around the world, it's not limited to some of the countries where there's a high production. Or that human rights are not observed. So remember the saying when I say, and also when talking of stewardship in what you do with communities and supporting the communities where you operate. I think the saying, those that you leave behind will slow you down or sometimes drag you down. And that is very much the case if you don't exercise strong stewardship. My third one is really integrity. And you were speaking about this, sir, a few minutes ago. As simple as doing what is right. And I'm sure you expect your children to do what is right. And there's sometimes a break between what we want for those that we raise in our families and what we do with the rest of humanity. in terms of our work. So to me, integrity is really the essential foundation for supporting everything else that we do in our companies. It's a way of life. And it means really rethinking sometimes what we do and how we do it with the people. But in too many instances, sometimes we take also our messages from those around us. And you know, I was in Greece speaking to parliamentarians yesterday and saying, you know, if you can have rules for parliamentarians and other rules for the people, people are not crazy. If you have immunity as a parliamentarian and therefore will never go to jail as long as you're a parliamentarian, no matter what you have done, and yet somebody that steals nearly a candy bar somewhere might land in jail. So, you know, I think that when I'm talking about integrity, it means really doing what, as I said, is right. And right now, a lot of work is being done by the G20, by the Financial Stability Board, by the European Parliament, by the World Bank and other IFIs, by the OECD, to try to establish, I think, different sets of rules which hopefully will make a difference if it's not just blah, blah. I'm going to use that one a lot, from blah, blah to action, because it expresses it very well. And, you know, laws and regulations are essential. And when we're talking of integrity, it means that the lobbyists for the industries should not be trying to limit the laws that are important for the management of the public good to such an extent that you don't have public good anymore. And I say to my friends in industry, and many, increasingly many, really recognize the importance of having good laws, but what you do with them is what matters after. My last two, and I'll take them as one, which is transparency and accountability. And I tell my colleagues in industry, this is two sides of the same coin. Please open up. It's to your advantage. It's to the sustainability of your organization. It's to prevent extortion as well. Disclose what you pay to your governments, taxes, concessions, fees, royalties, all of it, publicly in a way that's accessible to people. Make sure that you also publish where your subsidiaries are registered. Are they all in a fiscal haven or not? Make sure that you publish who the equity owners of your companies are and of your subsidiaries. That's the new place to hide laundered money as you push to get more openness of the banking sector. Make sure that you publish who your affiliates are, who the agents are that you work with, who are the people that are in the joint ventures that you work with. And in doing so, you are being accountable to your shareholders, to your community, to yourselves, and to your employees. So to me, these are some 5 points that, or 4 values that I think I would like to commend to you. As I said, there are many more, but I think if you introduce a values-based system in your organization, it takes leadership at the top, CEO, the board, right down to mobilizing the whole team. And you'd be surprised of how proud the staff is when they know that you're a high-value business, of a high-value organization. And it's a triple win. It's a win for the shareholders, it's a win for the communities where you work, it's a win for the business, and also a 4th one for humanity as a whole. Thank you very much.